Thanks for tuning in to this ASD video series we're calling Airplane Arms Navigating Back to School. We chose that name because teachers with young students have been using that analogy of airplane arms to better understand social distancing. And we're hoping this video series will help you better navigate what the start of the school year will look like and answer all of your most asked questions. My name is Lisa Miller. I'm a communications specialist with the Anchorage School District. I'm also a mom. I've got a kiddo starting kindergarten in the fall. Hey, Jack. And I have just as many questions that you have about what the start of school will look like. So today I'm joined with Chief Operations Officer Tom Roth and our Health Services Director, Jen Petronas. And we're going to take a deep dive into one of our most asked questions, which is, what will the district do if there is a confirmed case in school? So Tom, if you can Tom and Jen, before we dive into that, if you can describe the preparations the district is taking to really mitigate that risk as far as transmission in building and schools, and how we're prepping teachers and nurses.
Great. No, thanks. Thanks, Lisa. That's a great question. So we, at the end of the school year, last school year, we recognized a need to anticipate the start of the new school year in August. Specifically, we understood that, based on understanding of COVID-19, that the risk of transmission was going to be there. That there were measures available, equipment available to reduce the potential for transmission, one, through protective equipment, and two, through sanitation. Mm-hmm. So we also understood that we were in a really kind of a global competition for these resources. So we have been very aggressive in procuring a number of items to reduce the transmission in our schools. We know that's very important for our staff and for our community. So we have procured literally hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of disposable masks, cloth masks, nitrile gloves. We're providing that PPE. We're also providing a number of barriers, PPE or protective barriers, plexiglass in all of our school buildings to reduce transmission. We've also invested a significant amount in hand sanitizer, which our intent, our plan is, and I'll use the prototype school and the prototype classroom. So the intent with the start of the school year, assuming based on what the COVID situation is, that when the risk level, when a teacher goes into his or her school and her classroom or his classroom, that there will be a standard kit in each classroom containing gloves, masks, sanitizer, that there will be a spray bottle with a disinfectant, that there'll be paper towels, that this will be in the classroom, and that we will continue to resource those. Likewise, we understand that there is a school, more for common areas, a school need, so we have a similar school-based kit, which is also inclusive of signage and floor marking, again, to try to create this distancing in our building. So we've been working this very hard. A lot of very dedicated people have been putting in long hours to anticipate, plan, and prepare. And here in the near future, we're going to start actual distribution of these items in our schools.
What are you mentioned nitrile gloves? Is that what you call them?
Yeah, those rubberized gloves, the nitrile gloves. They're
just rubber gloves?
Rubber
okay.
gloves.
And then as far as hand sanitizers and masks, you mentioned that the school will be procuring some of those. Is that going to be on the back to school list? Do we want families to send their kids with the mask and hand sanitizers? Do we want them to have their own hand sanitizer, or is it what can parents expect?
The district is planning to provide hand sanitizer and masks. Now, I am not going to discourage any parent to take measures that they believe they need to provide an extra level of protection to their students. So if they want to send their kids to school with hand sanitizer, Absolutely. But we're going to provide it.
Okay, thank you. And then Jen, as far as preparations for nurses and I guess teachers too, what will that look like to prepare for, if we're in that medium high or medium low or low risk category to return to schools in person?
Similar to what Tom just talked about with the prototype classroom kit, the nurses will also be receiving a kit that's more specific to their medical equipment that they may need. It includes things like gowns, N95 mask, surgical grade mask, and gloves, and all of those supplies that they were unable to purchase at the end of last year due to the shortage of medical supplies. So all of the nurses will have that kit. I have a team of nurses that I've been working with all summer that have made some informational training videos on how to properly sanitize your hands, how to properly wash your hands, how to don and doff your mask and properly store it.
What does that mean, down and doff?
Don and doff means to remove and to put back on.
Oh, okay.
Your mask so that the teachers and students and all staff can watch those and see, see how to do it, because we had children, some of our students prepare those videos with us.
Oh, cool.
So we're kind of excited about that. We have other videos coming out as well that include what it looks like for a child with asthma wearing a mask and how it may or may not affect their oxygen saturation. So we have training videos like that, as well as the nurses are going to be receiving training directly from Dr. Zink, our state chief medical officer, as well as Dr. Olson, who's our state school health advisor, and then Dr. Chandler, who's our Anchorage chief medical officer. So they'll receive training directly from those individuals on COVID considerations specifically for school, and nurses will be able to ask their specific questions. Additionally, the American Academy of Pediatrics has agreed to do a panel discussion with the nurses to talk about asthma considerations and how to take care of those medically fragile students in relation to COVID.
So lots of preparation and lots of different expert opinions, it sounds like.
Yes.
I'd like to, thank you for that, Jen. I'd like to move on to this response matrix. We have this up now on our website. It's on asdk12.org, and it's under the School Start plan page. And this is breaking down scenarios in which the district would respond to a confirmed case. So can you just kind of walk us through this? There's a lot here. It's a lot to digest. So can you walk us through each scenario and what that would look like?
And I appreciate the opportunity, and I think the important thing for folks to understand is that the district has a system in the event that we are informed that we have a confirmed case or multiple confirmed COVID-19 cases involving either staff or students in the district. I want to say that, again, it's a tool that we will use to facilitate decision making and the staff to make recommendations to the superintendent on actions if we do have a confirmed case or cases. So we have a number of situations. The first would be if we had a single confirmed case in the district. Again, it's just a case. We don't know if it's a staff member or a student. Every confirmed case will be investigated, and from that investigation, we will have information that can help us, either confirm or eliminate possibilities.
And that's in that step here, the evaluated probability of transmissions in schools.
Right. So our assumption on any case, any confirmed case, is that there has been, at least that individual has been exposed to other ASD staff or students, that they have been in the school, unless we have confirmed that that's not the case. And that would be the case where, if you look at the chart, a low or no risk possibility of transmission. It would only be if we knew that person had not had any exposure to staff or students in the school. In that example, I think we would simply not recommend any closure, but that we would take precautionary steps, that we would disinfect the school, that we would focus on the school building, again, just err on the side of caution, but also that we have a responsibility to notify staff and students, the stakeholders in that school, that we had a confirmed case.
Can I ask, who's doing so that's contact tracing, right?
Yes.
essentially. And who's doing that? Is that school nurses?
Well, there's contact tracing that'll happen within the Anchorage Health Department.
Okay.
Generally, we'll get notification from the health department. But from that notification, we'll do internally. We will internally confirm with us. And it'll be a collaborative process if we discover that there are more people potentially exposed, that we would have the interaction with the health department, so they're also cognizant. So if we can't establish that there was no risk, then we're just going to assume that transmission could have occurred. That from that we can make recommendations to the superintendent. And the issue here, a lot of folks think that the reason you would close school is to allow for the disinfection. That's only part of it. Mm-hmm. The reason that you would close schools is you need to go through that investigation process.
Okay.
And then if we do have that potential exposure, that we would want to remove that risk from the school before you would allow staff and students back into it. So if we can't confirm that nobody had any contact, that we have a reason to suspect based on what our investigation reveals, that we could just recommend closure to allow that process to occur, and then we would do the disinfection and notification. So that's one case in one school.
Mm-hmm.
So another situation is maybe we would have multiple confirmed cases in one school. At that point, we have a much stronger reason to believe that transmission has and is continuing to occur in that school. So it kind of starts to amp up the district response. In that given that circumstance, we think there is a likelihood that more people would have been exposed, that they could be infected, that we would recommend, most likely in this situation, closure of the school for a longer period of time to allow for a more expanded investigation to potentially remove more people from the school to reduce risk.
One last question. So I think that kind of walks us through, how things would expand, like you said, if there were one case or more than one case. You mentioned, or it says on this chart, in the highest case scenario that schools would be closed up to 96 hours. So basically that's to do the contact tracing and to remove those individuals. Because it takes, sometimes up to, a week to get tests back. So they're...
Yes, and there's no real magic. So you see in that matrix 24 to 96 hours. It could take longer. It may take less time. It's a window. Again, what we're talking about here are a range of response options. The important thing is to mitigate risk. So until we feel like we have achieved that mitigation of risk, that our recommendation would be to continue to keep the school closed until we felt confident that everybody who could have been exposed to the confirmed case, has been addressed. So that's again, this is a single school, multiple cases in a compressed time period. And then the third category is if you have a much more broad number of cases across the district. So multiple confirmed cases in multiple schools. Now, what you're looking for is a pattern. Is it geographic? Is there an area, say South Anchorage, where a number of schools have confirmed cases? Because that will drive different types of responses. Is it one person in a number of schools without any geographic or any connection? If that's the case, then each one of those schools will be treated like a separate case in a separate school. But if you have a more regional matter where you have reason to believe you have a hot spot, then you're looking at potentially a larger closure of number of schools transitioning into the e-learning. Or if you have a case where this is happening throughout the district, that it would indicate a much broader issue for the municipality, potentially, that we could just recommend in a fairly rapid way, recommend a transition to a high-risk education delivery model until such time that the risk of broad transmission has subsided. So that's kind of the matrix, if you will. It's a tool to help the staff understand what's going on, and then to make recommendations to take action.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much, Tom and Jen, for walking us through the matrix and answering questions about what the district doing to prepare for the potential of a start in school. I think that helps answers a lot of my questions, and I'm sure others' questions as well. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for tuning in. If you have additional questions you'd like to ask, we will link to the Google form where you can submit those questions. We're reviewing those. We'll enter those to our FAQs or consider for another show topic. So thank you.